it's kind of strange. It's like, wear your mask in and then frolic,
Right.
so that's pretty much what we're seeing in San Diego as well, which is Vegas isn't too much different.
Yeah, now the casino.
Did they open up the casinos at all, Nikki?
They have in certain areas, but they haven't in others. In other words, like my husband's a poker player, so he can't play because they're sitting next to each other. So they're devising some type of a paneling to separate them. The casinos themselves, some are open, most are not. All of the buffets, of course, are shut down. And then the stores are open, but Kim's at Louis Vuitton. So they order and then she runs it out to them. And she said the line yesterday was 45 minutes to get in. I'm like, who needs a bag that bad?
That's crazy.
I think people are looking for things to do. At this point, they're like, I'll just go to Home Depot. I'll find something. I need to build something, right?
Right.
I can kind of understand that.
I was going to say, Ashley actually inspired us to try to build a planter box for gardening. So we are putting in a taller one up and on a little bitty patio. We're like, we can grow some veggies. So
Nice.
That's our next step.
It's so funny. The nursery that I go to, it's a local one out here. They get vegetables, vegetable plants delivered on Tuesday and Friday. And if you're not there that day, they're sold out.
Oh, wow.
It's amazing how many people are growing their own food.
Yeah. I mean, it definitely makes you take a step back and realize how much you spend on eating out and how sustainable we can be if we're not lazy.
Yep. Well, Kristina, we've got a few more that have popped on, so that's good. Thank you for saying yes for this morning.
Of course.
We got to talk a little bit. I think, was it Friday? I think it was Friday.
Friday, yes.
Yeah. And I was just intrigued by the work that you've done prior to the social equity ambassador. And then obviously we can touch on what can we expect going forward with that. But just kind of share where you are. I know where you are. We have people who jump on here who are not from San Diego. So, and then you're also fairly new to KW. So maybe a little bit of the story, how you found your way here.
For sure. Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you for the invite. It's always nice to meet new people and like-minded individuals, especially, after what you told me about what you do here is it every morning at 8? Or
it was. Well, now we're 3 days a week, but I'm considering maybe going back to every day. However, people would have to get the audience back up.
That takes dedication. So I applaud you. But so basically, everyone else that's here, hi, nice to meet you. My name is Kristina Buckner, and I am a fairly new agent with Keller Williams, San Diego Signature in Mission Valley, Hotel Circle. I've been with Keller since probably the top of the year. I've been in real estate for about 10 years. Prior to Keller, I was with Telus Properties. I was their director of sports and entertainment division. They actually had a location here, well, still do, but here in San Diego and in Los Angeles. I have some ties to Los Angeles as well. And then that was before they got bought out by Douglas Elliman.
I was gonna say, didn't they get bought by somebody?
Douglas Elliman, they kind of took over that. But prior to that, it was a Prudential, Berkshire Hathaway for the remainder of my experience. I'm a San Diego native, so yay! Not too many of us left, but born and raised here in the city, various places. I've been all over the city. I did actually go out of state for about 3 years to go to college. I'm actually a dental hygienist by trade.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was graduated in 2006. But all the while I was in real estate, doing real estate part-time at that time. So I've always had, a driving force pulling me towards real estate. So it's always been that not that accessory to my tool belt, but that thing that I wanted to really take a deeper dive into. So, I initially ended up taking that full leap when shortly after my daughter was born. My daughter is turning 8 in August. So also, believe it or not, I have a 24-year-old.
Wouldn't have believed that. Nope.
Good genes. Good genes. He's actually in his last year of law school. So awesome.
Wow.
So kind of going through the motions with that now because of this COVID thing. And he's actually goes to school in Boston, but he's here. So we're trying to see if he's going to do his last year online, you know, what's the whole deal with that, but we'll come to see how that plays out. But for many years, like I'm not that old, I've been very involved in community work, not because I have been wanting to, you know, cross off tasks on my to-do list, but by nature, it's just something that I feel that I'm gravitated towards, is just helping people. And that's just in general. I'm just a pretty down to earth person. So
so when you say community work, be specific, because we can interpret that in a lot of ways.
Yeah, for sure. So I'll start more recently. So more recently, or I'll go back some. So for a number of years, I've held free homebuyer seminars for first-time homebuyers and in public, you know, venues on my dime. I have been involved in several groups. There was one group, it lasted only a few years, but it was called Black Girls Rock San Diego. And with that group, we basically held events annually that recognized people of color who did great community work who weren't recognized, you know, in day-to-day San Diego living. So we had producers, we had writers, people who were just giving in so much volunteer hours and were never, you know, thanked. So we awarded them for sacrificing their time and efforts to making San Diego better. So
are there any organizations existing like that right now that you're aware of?
Well, we have the NAACP chapter, which is starting to kind of revive their organization. They've had a couple bumps in the road, but it's not the same. We have Paving Great Futures, which is great. They are heavily involved with the community as well. They have like an annual gala. Not the same page, but it's almost similar. So there are a couple that complement, but not another organization that, you know, does exactly what we did. We showcased a lot of talent, a lot of fashion designers, all that were, you know, encouraging of the Black culture, which, you know, there's not much of that here that's in one time at one place, you know, so you can actually see everything. So it was really nice to be involved in that. I'm currently involved with the San Diego Hip Hop Health and Wellness 5K. Have been doing that for a few years. And currently we are doing food distributions throughout the county. Prior to the food distributions, we'd have a 5K every year. Due to COVID, of course, we're not going to be having that this year. But it's basically to promote health and wellness amongst all demographics. I mean, we have all shades and colors that come out to the event, but it's to highlight in the population of the gap between ethnicities, basically. And I'll be more blunt, you know, amongst the Black community, because it's amongst the Black community where you have more increased risk of diabetes, obesity, just because of straight lack of healthcare or diet, food choices, things like that.
Well, and that's something you were telling me about Friday. Tell everybody about kind of the food drive stuff you're doing right now.
Yeah, so about 3 times a week, and now we just expanded into the Inland Empire. We are having food drives, food distributions, and they are more predominantly in the urban areas like East San Diego area, a lot of areas where transportation is an issue to get food as well. And the response has been overwhelming. Like if any of you would want to volunteer, that would be awesome. But for you to go and at least experience it, it's going to give you chills. I mean, food is such a commodity that we don't really think too much about having, you know. Well, okay, yeah, and then toilet paper because of that whole thing. but But to have these food drives and then to see the amount of people who are without food, and they would not sit in their cars for hours waiting for food unless they were desperately in need. And we're talking about the thousands. From the beginning of the food drives, and my numbers might be incorrect, I know it's over like 25,000 people.
So Scott is asking if we can put in the chat box what organization that is and how we can support.
Definitely,
So
definitely so.
Okay.
Yeah, so that has been the main drive, but since we're not having a 5K this year, the goal has been to do what we can within the community to still be that source of good health, wellness. We're also hosting almost bi-weekly, the dates are kind of off every once in a while, but community discussion forums where I'm actually the moderator, and every discussion we have on physicians, usually the main panel is like a cardiologist. We had assembly council members on as well, state council, secretary of state. So there's a lot of different people that have been coming on to give facts, because as you guys know, there's
about COVID or about
COVID, police brutality. You know, the police brutality situation kind of got thrown in because, you know, it is a community discussion.
Sure.
So it was mostly on, hey, this is what's going on. Here's your doctors. Here's our professionals. This is how you need to stay safe. Or these are the updates from our professionals. But then when the whole Black Lives Matter movement started and the George Floyd incident, then we felt an obligation to expand that to further educate a lot of people in the community who wanted to know what was going on behind the scenes. And we have connections with people who are on our panels who are in it, as long as like COVID survivors, people who've actually had COVID and can actually say, hey, it's real, guys. It's happening. You know, it happened to me. So it's been really good to be able to do that as well. And there's been a lot of good feedback with that. So that's the gist of, you know, that. I mean, I've done a lot of other things as well. I mean, in the past, I don't even know where to even start. I've just been.
Well, so I'm just curious. You know, we all have our own life experiences that lead us in one path or another,
Yeah.
and a lot of people don't ever really participate in community activism or whatever you would describe it as. What caused you to?
Well, you know, I grew up with a single mother. My mom and dad divorced when I was about 7, maybe 6, probably. And he wasn't around at all. So, you know, I can remember as a child seeing what my mother went through. I'm actually, my father is Black. My mom is Native American and Spanish. And not to include white as well, because my grandmother on her side is white.
I say this with lots of love and respect. You get to check lots of boxes.
I do, yeah. Actually, I just put other. Put other, but so I'm a mixture. I represent our country to the fullest. I'm a mixture. I'm a mixing pot of everyone here. And unfortunately, though, I have experienced disparities in my life that contributed to my upbringing, that contributed to the color of my skin. And, you know, I know firsthand, you know, what that separation looks like and what it feels like. And it doesn't feel very good. And, you know, being a mother ×2, I've also experienced on that side how it affects my children. And because of the upbringing I had, I knew that I had to have triple times the better upbringing for them, because I didn't want them to experience some of the things that I did. Right. But even in doing that, you know, my son's in law school, you know, I lived in La Jolla, you know, I've done so well for myself. But even in doing that, it doesn't matter how good you do when you still have skin color that looks like mine.
So how does that show up for you now?
As far as
You just said I live in La Jolla, my son's doing well, he's in college,
yeah.
and yet you still, I'm sure, have experiences where the color of your skin makes it a difference.
Even in La Jolla, it happened randomly one time.
Oh, I would expect in La Jolla it would happen.
Crazy though. I mean, it was out of nowhere. I mean, the guy was drunk, mind you. I was in CVS, and just out of nowhere, he's like, you monkey, I don't want you. I'm like looking like I'm just coming here to get some chips. Like, what's going on?
What was your reaction?
Exactly what I just said. Just like, what are you talking about? He was drunk, and he was very outward. What is that word? Just
belligerent.
Exactly the word I was looking for. And I tried to ignore him, and he started coming towards me in my face. The thing I think that was very apparent to me, and I think that's why it's such an issue now when things happen and no one speaks up, is because when you go through that moment, like I did, no one did anything. Not even the CVS cashier.
Comment.
This guy was face to face with me, and I was stepping back. I don't want any trouble, So I was stepping away from him, and he's drunk, and he's just all in my face. And I'm like, hey, are you gonna call security, police? Like, is somebody gonna do something? No one did anything. I'm a woman, mind you, one thing. And he's drunk, obviously. He could have hit me and no one would have, flinched. Maybe then, but the point is, I think it was a very good example of how it feels to be discriminated against and no one around you does anything, or no one around you says anything. And that's
flagrant. Parallel. I can imagine the number of times just, an offhand comment is made and nobody calls.
Right.
That is.
It's so parallel to what's going on now, kind of, because.
How long ago was that?
This was about maybe 2014.
Okay.
And then I just had a recent situation a few months ago, another grocery store. Jeez, I don't know what's going on, but the guy just cut me out of nowhere, like if I, wasn't standing there, he just put his stuff in front of me. I said, excuse me, I'm standing here. No, I'm next. I said, what? And he said some other things I'd rather not. But again, the store looked surprised. The cashier, she looked surprised. And instead,
in some cases, I think you are surprised and you go, what do you do? What?
Yeah, what do you do? So, and that goes in discussion, like, should there be training? Should there be, because I think a lot of people don't know how to respond. And I'm just saying, but even in light of this situation, like with this whole discussion now, like the reason why you and I are probably having this discussion is because now it's like in your face, like everybody is talking about race now. It's like,
and that's such a good result of some really horrible things, right?
Yeah.
I don't think we can go backwards. We're going to continue this conversation,
right?
Hopefully till it's not needed anymore, right?
Right. Hopefully there'll be a day like that. We'll see. Unfortunately, but
for let's pivot just a little bit and go to, so with the social equity ambassador, which is a huge progress step that Keller Williams is making. Yeah. I know a lot of us have been, I'm going to use the word frustrated, but probably a little less than frustrated, just not getting information.
Yes.
But the reality is you guys don't really have the information yet either, right?
Yeah. So as it is now, I know I just received all of the market centers ambassadors emails.
Great.
So I will be reaching out to everyone. And then Thomas will as well. He's the other regional. So
what's his last name? I forgot.
Jacobs.
Okay.
I believe. So I know we will be doing our intros, and then I plan on hopefully getting together with him and maybe doing some type of updates. I know I'm doing, I'm going to be doing an update with my market center, but I would like us to kind of zone in with our ambassadors of the market centers and kind of have some type of, maybe if it's a monthly update or something. I like the video or Zoom, but we can, even if it's email update, that's fine as well. But any updates right now, we have a slow moving start. So we just had a productive meeting last week where we kind of broke off into our groups. We've been broken off into subgroups, and mine is actually, it's community something, but it's basically supports what I've been already doing. So each subgroup comes up with ideas, or is coming up with ideas to help better the movement per se. And then all those ideas are going to be thrown to the top, and then we're going to see which ones stick.
Okay.
So we have another meeting actually tomorrow with my subgroup, and then another one next week, which should hopefully finalize what our ideals are, and then be sent off for approval.
Awesome. Also, when you put your the organization in the chat box, if you would put your contact info,
I will.
and then we can all distribute that. You've got ours, but be good to have yours too.
For sure.
All right. In your own market center, what kind of traction are you getting? What are you guys focused on?
Well, we haven't even gotten that far, to be honest with you.
Okay.
I know there's and I'm not certain, so like, I'm fairly new. Does every market center have a cultural?
We're supposed to have a culture committee that connected to the ALC. That's part of our policy and guidelines.
Okay. Yeah. So I know we have that group within the market center, but other than that, on my end, we haven't really started anything yet. Again, because it's pretty fresh. So my goal is once I know exactly what we're going to be doing, what our goals are, then I want to run with it. And we have some pretty high set goals. In order to make a difference, you got to start somewhere, right? So I like to always set the goal really high. So then it's like, oh, if I don't make it, you suck. Myself,
Well, I'll say this, and again, we've got some of our people on this call. We can definitely collaborate. Our offices are very close to each other.
Yeah.
And probably fairly similar demographics in the offices.
Yeah, awesome.
All right.
And I'll post the website on here too. But yeah, so
let's, as a parent, let's go to your kids. So what do they identify? Because you are such a mixed bag of genetics.
Yeah, thanks.
That's really super cool though.
Yeah. So, and you know what? And I'm glad you brought it back to them, because there was actually something, that's what I wanted to say, and I lost track. So that was another reason that I think it has pushed me to be so involved with trying to close the gap with the racial disparities amongst the communities, and also kind of being a source for young women also, and even, the young men as well, but a source of a positive, I don't want to say role model, because I don't like to use that loosely, but there's a lot of issues that happen when, if you're in a home where there's not all that income, if anybody's unemployed, especially now, a lot of people have lost their jobs, that's the reason why there's this big gap right now between the races. I'm just gonna say that, I guess. Not quite how I wanted to say it, but because poverty level amongst African Americans is, a lot more higher than any other, like I said, probably Hispanic as well, but a lot more so African American.
And probably that gap is widening right now, I would think.
It is. And that's why we're having the food drives. That's why, I reach out to people and make my line available to people who just need help in general. Like, they don't even know what to do, like rental assistance, stuff like that. I try to spew that information out, because everybody thinks they're getting evicted or they are getting notices. And So, different things like that, where people don't have savings. They're not taught to save. And that's not, and I think that's where a lot of the misinterpretation starts, is because a lot of people who were but who were brought up differently to save. There's a thing called generational wealth, that a lot of families start with, and then they trickle it down to that child. That one trickles it down. And it's not even just that, it's the education standpoint, how to save, why you're saving, not to splurge, not to do this, not to do that. Unfortunately, that lacks in the Black community. And it's a very big gap. And I want to say it's their fault, because it happens if you have one mother who's been raised poor, has children, and she continues to live poor. More highly than not, those kids are probably going to do the same thing. So when there's that one child that makes it out and goes to college and does well for himself, it's like, oh my God, he made it, because, it's that system that repeats itself over and over again. So I think, in short, it's just like, I try to do what I can to help interject my life, me as a person, into anybody's life, to kind of break that cycle in any
Yeah,
way.
and the only thing that does that is education and awareness, right?
Exactly.
So I think it is. I would embrace the term role model,
Yeah.
because well, why not? They're
Yeah.
different. We all watch, or I should say, we all model behavior that we watch,
Right.
good or
Yeah.
bad, right?
Right.
So you have the opportunity. We all do have be a positive role model, and it's needed.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah.
I can recall stories, my son, and this has been one of the driving forces, my kids. So like my son, he went to La Jolla High, and he hated it the first few months, probably close to the year. He experienced racism like nobody's business. And, I remember tidying up his room a few times, and I found like notes that people were like sending to him, pictures of monkeys and, N words, and, and here I am trying to make better for us. We're in La Jolla. I'm like, okay, this is as best as it's going to get. Like, and then here this is happening. I'm like, oh, like I just wanted to kick myself in the butt. And
well, and it's so interesting because I've heard so many people say it's a different world, than this next generation isn't racist.
Right. I don't know, but
oh no, I think it totally.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I don't know. But so I felt horrible, and he was so bad off where he was even contemplating, hurting himself. I got him to see a doctor, and it was bad. And
so how has he coped with that? And I assume he's made friends and overcome some of it.
That was 2010. The first year was like, so what I told him when he was going through all this, I was like, look, because he just wanted to go back. We were going to Eastlake prior, and he just wanted to go back, where all his friends were. And I said, look, listen. And he was in sports at the time. I said, I know you're going to make friends. Please just give it some time. If we go through this year and it's still the same, I promise we'll move back. But just give it a year. I'm sure you'll make friends. I'm sure, you'll be fine. And I'm glad I don't know, it worked out. So he made tons of friends. And what ended up happening, and we have these discussions actually to this day, it strengthened him actually, because I tell him now, I hated that happened, but I'm almost glad it did. And I'm going to say why is because the world is not perfect, and it's full of imperfect people. And for me to lie to him as a mother and say, you're going to go off into this perfect world and everybody's going to be nice to you and everybody's going to love you, is a joke. And unfortunately, he had to experience it the way that he did. But I feel as a mother, and seeing him as a grown man now, 24, it made him a strong man.
Where did he go to college?
He went to Bowdoin College in Maine, where he got his undergrad in economics, bachelor's in economics. And
it probably helped that he had that experience in high school, because at college in Maine, I'm guessing, wasn't very colorful campus.
It wasn't, but you know what? He said it was fruitful. Like he had no issues there at all. And I asked him all the time, like, everything good there? You sure everything's good? But he had such a great time there. And Maine is so beautiful. I've never been. Oh my God, it's so beautiful there. And now he goes to Western New England University in Boston. No issues there. So, you know, I'm glad that I hate it happened the way it did, but I'm glad it happened because he even said himself that he learned to tune it out. And he learned to know, okay, they're just ignorant.
Yeah.
But not to take it so personally, because initially it was eating him away from the inside out. I mean, it was, as a mother, when you're supposed to protect your child, and here I am throwing him in a fire, it seemed. I was like, it was just a horrible.
And it's so interesting. This thing that's hitting me right now is we've talked a lot over the last couple months about, you know, Black people really having to be afraid for their physical safety. And that's been so prevalent in the news. And
Yeah.
And yet then there's this other layer that just psychologically and socially, you know, you may be physically safe, but we all know what it's like to be a teenager.
Yeah.
But to have that layer, it's just another layer, I guess.
No, and even now, like it's unfortunate that I have to have these discussions with my son now about what happens if he gets pulled over by the police. And I've had them, and I keep reminding him of these situations of.
Do you have the same conversation with your daughter?
Well, not getting pulled over by the police. She's only 7, so.
Yeah. But I mean, just the safety conversations or what to be aware of.
So with her, I'll tell you one time. So I'm a good driver. One time I did a California roll on a stop, and there was a cop not far, and he pulled me over. This is probably like maybe 5 years ago. And my daughter, she was, well, probably short at that. I think she was probably like 5 at the time. No, maybe like 6, 5 or 6. So it wasn't too long ago. I got pulled over. He's asking me where I was going. And, you know, before he told me why he pulled me over. My daughter, she's 6, bawling, crying in the backseat. I'm like, it's okay. No, Mommy, it's the police. She's 6.
She already picked that up from media.
She already picked it up. And I'm very careful. I try to be very careful about what she's exposed to, you know, because I don't want her to have unfair or unbalanced biases. And, you know, like as a parent, you're trying, especially as a kid, their minds are developing, you know?
Right.
So, but she was crying her eyes out. I'm like, it's okay. She's like, no, it's the police. I'm like, it's okay. The officer saw this. He's questioning me. He looks at her, you know, as I'm explaining to him where I'm going. I say, yeah, I'm dropping her off at daycare. I didn't get a ticket that day.
Yeah.
But that experience alone was like, okay, so she is in tune with something.
That's very interesting.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, and it's difficult now to explain things to her. It's a lot different conversation, of course, with my son, because, you know, like she said something when this whole George Floyd thing came out, and she's like, Mom, I just don't understand. Didn't Martin Luther King fix it? You know? And she's like, what did she say? Oh, she's like, I don't think that's very fair. You know, no one can help, you know, what color they are. You know, why isn't everybody just nice?
Oh, to be 7 again.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Oh my.
So let's go back a minute and your CVS experience, in the grocery store experience.
Yeah.
If we ever observe that, what would you say if you were training a group? Say, hey, you see this is what would be an appropriate response.
Mm-hmm. I think the most popular thing to do now, I don't want to say popular, that's not the right word. The right thing.
There you go.
Is to say something. And I I can't really tell you what to say. I can't really tell you what to do, but silence has been the issue for many, many years. And that's why, like when I talked to you on Friday, I applauded you for doing these, because a lot of people just don't have the guts, they're just scared, or they don't know what to say, or they're afraid of the backlash or saying something wrong, or but this is how we have these discussions, and this is how we get an uncomfortable situation comfortable.
Well, and I think what people forget is silence grants permission. So if you observe that, you're in the room when that happens, you don't say anything. The person who, just acted out of ignorance at the best, I think that, out of viciousness at the worst, they get to believe they're in the right, because anybody who doesn't speak up is granting permission.
Right. No, you're accomplice.
Yep.
In a way.
That's the best word right there.
Crime happened and you didn't do anything, say anything, you're kind of accomplice, So, but just being on the right side of the fence, but just saying something is better than just watching. Kind of like the George Floyd thing, and and I don't want to mix those in too, but it's just so.
Well, Robert just posted a quote that I posted on Facebook this weekend. It says, "When you see something that's not right, not fair, not just, you have to speak up.
Mhm.
You have to say something. You have to do something."
Yeah.
And that's from John Lewis, who unfortunately just passed.
Yeah, no, that's definitely it. That's definitely it. If you don't say anything, silence.
And I think it can be that simple. Just say, "That's not right."
That's it. And anyone who is of good spirit can know that situation is not right. Like the vibes are not right. If it's very apparent. It's just having the guts to do something that you're not normally comfortable doing.
I have a favorite quote from one of my favorite authors that is, sometimes we have to come out from behind the fear of ourselves and just get into the conversation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. I agree.
All right. Well, we're going to get all your contact info. We'll get I want to find out when, like you said, just to go watch the food distribution and help if we can.
Yes.
And as we all are searching for where should we put our energies, there's so much need and there's so many organizations. We're all kind of muddling through that.
Mm-hmm.
Open communication is really going to help.
Definitely.
So I'm glad you get to meet some of our people here today.
Hi.
What do we have? Okay. All right. 15.
I'll be telling you too soon, Nikki. For more details coming soon.
Awesome. Absolutely. And Thomas Jacobs is one of my best friends, so it'll be really it'll be great meeting you.
Awesome. Yeah, he's great as well. Awesome.
Very cool. So is there anything we can do to help you?
Gosh. Well, I will post most of the flyers that we put out, because they come out every week, but they go on our Facebook page. And I posted, I think, the name of the page, but let me see how I can do this better.
I don't see anything in the chat box yet.
Let me see. Oh, I don't know what happened. Okay. Oh, you know what? I think I did privately.
Brian, I don't think we talked about a competition as so much as a collaboration.
Who's competing?
We are competitive, but we got to find out what the goals are first. Then we can start talking about. Yeah, I'm still not seeing anything, but we'll make sure it gets out.
Yeah.
Okay. What I did offer, and I'm going to offer everybody else up, I've got my MCA on here, my assistant, a lot of our staff. And because you're new to KW and it is such a massive ship, reach out to any of us at any time if you have KW questions.
Awesome. There's that. And then
awesome. Good.
I'm going to post, I wish I can do links on here. I can't, I can't just post a link. That would be awesome. How would it be?
Well, we can copy and paste it. So
okay.
You can post it. It just won't hyperlink.
Yeah, hold on. Let me do that really quick. That'll make it easier. Yeah, so I'll post a link to the page, and then if you guys, all of the meal distributions are posted on this page. There's several opportunities throughout the week. So it can, be.
Where is it? What's the location?
There's different locations. So I'm going to post the link. This is the
Okay.
Facebook link.
Great.
Perfect. So that's the Facebook link. Like the one that we're having.
Oh, it does hyperlink, by the way.
Yeah, I just put it in there. We have one Ocean View Boulevard, Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays from 12 to 2. And then there's other ones that are, and we also have the San Diego Strike Force that helps us. I don't know if you guys are aware of who they are, but they're our San Diego football team. And so they've been pretty active in helping us as well. But if you scroll down on the page, once you go to it, it says all the different locations, the different days. I would just go based on the flyers. Most of them are pretty much the same locations. Like we have it at a church. What is it? The Baptist Church, yeah, New Paradise Baptist Church. So I would just, whenever you happen to have, free time, looking at the different locations that are set for the week. Usually the church locations and the one on Imperial is pretty repetitive. So,
Awesome.
but even if it's just helping with packaging, and they're pretty safe, with the COVID and everything. So basically everybody just drives up and you put in their trunk or front seat. And, they have gloves and masks for you, for your protection. And that's it. But yeah, it's overwhelming. We see the cars wrapped around the block, and we've done like aerial footage, and you can see like just cars it's
such desperate need right now.
Yeah, definitely is. But yeah, could use the help.
All right.
Anybody else wants to volunteer? And you can, and you can either show up or actually, you know what, you have to probably chime in because we have to have you sign like little waivers.
Yeah. We have something in Keller Williams called Red Day, which is typically every May 12th to 14th, sometime in there. And our office has done food drives through, I don't remember what food bank. Don't remember the name of it, but I was surprised having to sign the waivers for that. So
yeah, crazy.
And especially now, I'm sure.
Yeah, those are the times.
All right. Well, I really appreciate your time this morning. Thank you for the information. And I know we will all be in touch.
Yes.
Yeah, Feeding San Diego. That's what it was. Thanks, Brian. Yep.
Thanks, Brian. Yeah. Go girl. It's so cute.
Yeah. Well, again, good to meet you. Thank you for the talk on Friday. And I really look forward to working together and creating the little bit of change we can create locally.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you for the invite. Thanks, everyone, for listening to me blabber. And
valuable info. Totally appreciate it.
If anything, I hope, which is a goal of, why I like to talk about, not everybody likes to get personal, but give you a little bit of insight of what it's like in the inside of somebody who's actually experienced, because some people are saying, oh, racism is fake. It's not real, or there's no such thing as, social.
The only people who say that are white people. Sorry, just true.
Yeah, it's real. It's alive and well. So,
Yeah.
but thank you guys for listening, and you guys have an amazing Monday. Enjoy the rest of your week.
Awesome. Thanks for launching us off strong. Have a good one.
Thanks, you too.
Bye.
Bye.